Minneapolis ICE shooting investigation draws scrutiny for deviating from police use of force standards. The federal investigation into the fatal shooting of Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old Minneapolis woman killed in an interaction with a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) officer, has sparked widespread controversy, in part because the handling of the case differs sharply from traditional police use of force protocol and independent investigation practices. Federal authorities have taken exclusive control of the probe, sidelining state investigators and prompting criticism from legal experts, local leaders, and civil liberties advocates. The fatal encounter took place on January 7, 2026, during a federal immigration enforcement operation in South Minneapolis. Good, a mother of 3 and longtime community member, was shot after an ICE agent fired into her vehicle. Federal officials have characterized the action as self-defense, claiming Good attempted to strike officers with her car. However, bystander video and expert analysis cast doubt on that narrative, showing the vehicle was not clearly advancing toward officers at the time lethal force was used. Investigation shift protects federal control, raises alarm. Shortly after the shooting, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, assumed sole control of the investigation and blocked the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, BCA, from accessing crucial evidence or participating in interviews. State authorities had initially been briefed to collaborate with federal agents, but that arrangement was abruptly changed. As a result, local law enforcement has been excluded from key material needed to independently verify what occurred at the scene. Minnesota officials, including Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis leaders, have sharply criticized the federal approach, warning that a probe without state involvement undermines transparency and public confidence. Legal experts note that under the U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause, federal officers generally retain immunity for actions taken within their official duties, but experts stress that officers must still adhere to constitutional standards for justified use of deadly force, a requirement that calls for thorough, unbiased examination. Use of force concerns, departure from accepted protocol. Law enforcement scholars and former police officials say the use of force in this case appears inconsistent with established training and standards commonly followed by civilian police agencies. Use of force experts reviewing video footage argue that criteria for deadly force, requiring an immediate threat to life, do not clearly exist in the Good shooting, particularly since the vehicle did not, in some videos, appear to be moving directly at agents when shots were fired. One former police chief described the incident as a deviation from basic clear and plain law enforcement tactics. In contrast, Homeland Security Department officials, including Secretary Kristi Noem, have repeatedly defended the actions of the ICE agent involved, asserting the officer faced threats warranting lethal force. The Justice Department has also offered robust support for the federal position. Critics contend that such declarations, made early in the investigation, may represent a rush to judgment that sidesteps a neutral fact-finding process. Medical aid and scene handling under scrutiny. Witness accounts and video evidence from the scene have also raised concerns about compliance with law enforcement protocols for rendering medical aid after the use of force. Multiple bystanders reported that federal officers blocked emergency medics and civilians attempting to approach Good after the shooting, even as health agencies' own policies require officers to provide or secure medical assistance when safe to do so. Delays in allowing local emergency medical response have become part of broader questions about the federal response. Community and political reactions. The case has unsurprisingly ignited protests and public gatherings across Minneapolis, with many residents drawing parallels to earlier controversial law enforcement shootings in the city and demanding accountability. Some civic leaders have organized moments of reflection, while others have called for policy changes regarding federal enforcement actions in urban communities. The dispute over how the investigation is being handled highlights deep national debates over immigration enforcement authority, federal jurisdiction, and the standards by which law enforcement use of force should be judged, especially when the agency involved is a federal immigration unit rather than a local police department.